Alright guys, Wolf of Dimensions coming back at you with a new video. This time I want to talk about little nitpicks I had with the movie Godzilla 2014 and some things that I didn't like about it. Now again, these are my opinions and my thoughts. If you don't like them, just don't watch the video. And I'd like to stress enough that I am not a ranter. That is not what I do on YouTube. I think it is anti-productive. So moving forward, this movie was directed by Gareth Edwards, had really good style, really good, you know, visuals. But there are plenty of issues to go along with it, as well as with any other good movie. First off, the Jaws type waiting for Godzilla to show up. Now, like everyone else, that is a big issue I have with it, is that a movie with the title Godzilla talks about him more than it actually shows him. And it focuses more on other monsters than it does him. Now, when I saw what Gareth Edwards was doing for it, and, I respect that, and I did enjoy it, but it could have been done differently, in my opinion. Next off, I had an issue with, I don't know, really, he seemed a little too weak, and, he just seemed like he was a background character, and, that goes back to the whole first one. Alright. So another one is the fact that Bryan Cranston being a major star in the film, advertised with him being in it, only lasted the first portion, which to me was kind of lame and made no sense. Why hire a good actor if you're just going to kill him off? Now, I get that he played an important role, and his death kind of did too, it kind of didn't, but the whole issue I had was that if you were going to kill him off that easily, you could have hired someone else who would have been less memorable to the audience, because that's not who was trying to remember him, it was the character. Okay, next issue is camera angles. Gareth Edwards said he wanted to do it as you seeing the monsters from a human point of view. Well, in my opinion, he didn't really capture that. He really kind of captured, more different types of POV shots. Like, in my opinion, there are some scenes in Shin Godzilla which do the whole from a your point of view perspective amazingly, and it made me wish that they kind of did that in this movie. And another big problem of mine is lighting. Most of the scenes with the monsters, it's dark as night, and you can't even see what they really look like. And that's a real problem, because what was the point of watching that amazing fight scene if it was barely lit? And that's, I think, one of my biggest problems with this movie is lighting on the monsters during the fight scenes. Now, I get it was supposed to be dark and moody, but come on, guys, you could have done a bit better than what you did with that lighting effect. It was pretty bad. Another thing that nitpicks me is that Gareth Edwards was saying that Godzilla is more of a force of nature in this movie. The problem I have with this is that how the movie sets it up is that he's not just a force of nature. This Godzilla is set up throughout the movie, no matter what you say, no matter how it seems, even with what Dr. Serizawa says, it's set up that he is a hero. And by the end, with the King of the Monsters line, and the whole he saved our city, it set him in stone to be the new hero Godzilla. He is not a force of nature. He leaves most of humanity alone, whereas most natural events known to mankind have been horrible. He is more of an animal who actually can bond with another type of species. It is seen with him and Ford. So I don't like that he tried to sell him off as really just a force of nature, because in this movie he's really not that. He is his own creature, and he is very sentient. Another thing is they don't really stress, this is just a minor one, they don't really stress his immortality, or the military really underestimates it. Serizawa is the only one who really sees him that way, but how old he is and what his role is, they do not stress enough. They do not stress his role, and that's the issue I have. Again, going back, he's not the plot. Whereas the plot should be him, it's not. It's kind of like a slasher film. If you watch a slasher film, like Friday the 13th, you know who's hunting you and you know what's going on, but you don't know what their story is. And funny enough, in Friday the 13th, eventually you do learn his story. So I mean, even then, it's just a matter of we need a movie, or we need something that explains Godzilla's origins in movie style. I do know there are books, I do know there are comics, but not everyone gets those. We need a movie in canon explanation of what happened, how he started, and how strong and powerful he really is. We're hoping that we'll see that in the next movie, but as far as we know, in this movie, it was not displayed at all. A good example of this is that they talk about nuking the monsters the whole time, and us as fans assume that Godzilla will survive it. We think he's been through worse, he absorbs radiation, and it's that mystery of we don't know how powerful he is because we haven't seen it. And in Shin Godzilla, he was powerful like crazy, and we didn't know how powerful he was either, but that was because of his evolution. Like you could guess, it was a bit more background than Godzilla 2014 actually gave. Because at least with Shin Godzilla, you knew the reason why you didn't know about his powers is because he kept growing. But the thing is that I prefer Godzilla's ancient beast story to the beast that's been created and keeps evolving. To me, it's too destroyer-ish. But I'll get on to Shin Godzilla later. My point is, we are not showed enough about Godzilla in this film that's supposed to be about him for us to make an establishment of his strength and his position in the monster universe, extending to Toho as well. We don't know how strong he is compared to most of the modern monsters Toho has made, and I'd add the Heisei series to that as well. And you see, another little nitpick of mine is that it doesn't really have the original allegory or the same message as the original Godzilla. Because the original Godzilla's message was that when you mess with nature to an extent, you can create monsters. Whereas in this, it's about saying that when you mess with nature, nature has its own monsters to send at you. The whole point of the original, in my opinion, from what I saw, was that when you mess with nature, what it throws back at you is something you created. It's irony. It's something you did to yourself. It's like you screwed yourself over, which to me is a lot more important, and it's a lot more eye-opening than just nature being like, hey, you know what? I got something of my own. Now, another thing is, I don't like Serizawa's role. Now, I was amazed that they even brought him back, like that his name is a thing. But I'm a little nitpicky about his role in this film. Do I like his character and what he's about? Yes, but I am disappointed he isn't similar to the original Serizawa, or that they're not even related, or that the original never existed. That's what bothers me. Even if there wasn't, even if he isn't the original Serizawa, the fact that the original one never existed still kind of bothers me. I mean, he could have just been a guy from the war, like he was in the film, just never ran into the monster, became a scientist. But besides that, I mean, he's just not similar enough to Serizawa, the original, to me, and he didn't have that same desire to help humanity. He didn't have that same tragedy, and he had a tragedy. He had to, his family had went through the bombings, and I'd hate to go through that myself, and it'd be a very tragic event. But he didn't have that horrendous, that heartbreaking tragedy that Serizawa did in '54 that captivated me to actually like the character. Another really nitpicky thing is that they didn't add Godzilla into Japan. They had the Muto in Japan, but they never put Godzilla there, and I kind of wish they did. Because the fact that they included it as a key place made it to where you want to see him there. It made you want to see him in that place again, because that's where you know him from. That's where he hails from. But it was more of a tease alluding to the monsters that were created from the Mutos, like the early spawn of the Mutos. And that wasn't bad. It was a good idea, but when you're given Japan and you use it as a country, try to give the fans something, and it's just my opinion. And really, lastly, my biggest one is that they never included the original Akira Ifukube score from any of the previous Godzilla movies. I get it. You want to create a new Godzilla movie. You want to do it more American. You want to do it in the Hollywood style. But for God's sakes, please introduce something we know musically, something that will make the fans cheer when they're in the theaters. That's like Shin Godzilla perfected that to a T. You had music from '54. It's really something that had to be in there that they didn't include, that I hope they add in the new one. They probably won't, but it's a key masterpiece to any Godzilla film, is having at least that one iconic theme placed somewhere. Even if it's like 5 seconds long, I don't care. If it's in there, it would benefit everyone and it would benefit, whoever watches it too. That's just my thoughts on that though. So, guys, I might be doing more of these, this series, my critiquing series here. I might start doing more of it on Kaiju Council, and I might start doing, like, what I like about movies, too. If you like this, tell me. Like, comment, subscribe. Wolf of Dimension signing off.